Guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, going to read an article titled "The New Political Cry in South Korea, Out with Man Haters." And guys, this article is all about how men over in South Korea have had it with the damaging effect of the activism movement and are pretty much raising holy hell on multiple fronts. And this whole article goes into that in detail about how the guys they've had it. They've seen all the damage it's caused, just like over here, except over there, they're taking it to a whole new level in terms of being sick of it and standing out. And I thought this would be a good one to cover, guys, because I really enjoy seeing how things are around the world. I've talked about it in length from different countries like Canada, the UK, Australia, but I've never covered Asia or especially South Korea. And this was sent over by a subscriber, and I apologize, I forgot to mention who you are, but you know who you are. Thanks for sending it. And pretty much, guys, it's the same thing in the sense that you got a lot of these guys out there that they make it clear they have no problem with women in general, or they don't have a problem with certain elements. You know, they want to be treated fairly and be safe in the workplace and all that. What they're pissed off about is how it's causing men to be like second-class citizens on multiple fronts. And it's impacting them in all areas of things, from family life, in terms of the workplace, school, all sorts of stuff. They're tired of it. And over here, guys, you see it all the time. You see it all, how men are portrayed in TV and movies in a negative way. You see how the family courts are against guys who are raked over the coals if there's a divorce, amongst many, many other things. The damaging effect of the M2 movement, where guys can be accused of anything and pretty much, boom, they're fired, guilty until proven guilty, that type of thing. So that'll be a good one to cover here, guys. I really enjoy seeing news and finding out what's going on with men and how men's rights and things like that all over the world. So it starts off, after slow gains in women's rights, the country is facing a type of political correctness enforced by young men angry at feminists, saying that they undermine opportunity. They've shown up whenever women rallied against S-word violence and gender biases in South Korea. Dozens of young men, mostly dressed in black, taunted the protesters, squealing and chanting "thud, thud," to imitate the noise they said the ugly feminist pigs made when they walked. "Out with the man-haters," they shouted. "Feminism is a mental illness." See? I wasn't kidding. These guys are fed up. Now, I don't hear any articles about that going on over here. And as you could probably imagine how much that'd be twisted around on so many levels if that stuff happened over here. On the streets, such rallies would be easy to dismiss as the extreme rhetoric of a fringe group, but the anti-feminist sentiments are being amplified online, finding a vast audience as increasingly imposing its agenda on South Korean society and politics. These male activists have targeted anything that smacks of feminism, forcing a university to cancel a lecture by women they accuse of spreading misandry. They have vilified prominent women, criticizing An San, a 3-time gold medalist in the Tokyo Olympics, for her short haircut. Now, I gotta say this. I don't want anybody being... I don't promote harassing people or being... or what could be called real hate speech, things like that. Okay, that can be up for debate. Literally nowadays, if someone speaks out against something or brings awareness to a subject, some people twist and turn things to label that as hate speech. That's a bunch of crap. A lot of things I talk about on this channel, there'd be those that would label me as promoting that thing, which is a bunch of crap. But in terms of like harassing this chick at the Tokyo Olympics because of her haircut, even though we can all laugh about the haircut thing, that's going too far. But I got no problem bringing awareness and raising holy hell about men being treated as second-class citizens and that type of thing. I want to make that clear. And by the way, guys, if you can hear the rain, I was already set to do this video. There's been no rain all day. But the second I get in the car, boom, here comes the rain. So there's always rain or sirens or some damn thing getting in my way. But for the car is literally like my trademark, my brand. Everybody, that's how I do it. So, you know, it is what it is. We're getting snow on Friday. So you may see me here with seeing all the snow coming around the background. But I'm doing this, near my house, so who cares? Anyhow. Continues, they have threatened businesses with boycotts, prompting companies to pull advertisements with the image of pinching fingers they said ridicule the size of male genitalia. and they have taken aim at the government for promoting a feminist agenda, eliciting promises from rival presidential candidates to reform the country's 20-year-old Ministry of Gender Equality and Family. The Ministry of Gender Equality? Good Lord. And you know what? That's an area I have no problem with. They're boycotting and raising hell towards companies and their advertisements that are insulting men and other things like that. Okay, I got no problem with that. South Korea is reckoning with a new type of political correctness enforced by angry young men who bristle at any forces they see as undermining opportunity. And feminists, in their mind, are public enemy number one. Inequality is one of the most delicate issues in South Korea, a nation with deepening economic uncertainty, fed by runaway housing prices, a lack of jobs, and a widening income gap. One guy is quoted saying, "We don't hate women, and we don't oppose elevating their rights," said Bae In-kyu. I cannot pronounce these South Korean names. I'm doing my best here. Who's 31, the head of Man on Solidarity, one of the country's most active anti-feminist groups. But feminists are a social evil, he says. See right there. He says we don't hate women, and we don't oppose elevating rights, but where things have gone is far out of whack. The pendulum has gone too far. That's what they're trying to say, as many guys do here. And I got to tell you guys, I got to wonder if this video will be flagged or at least demonetized here on YouTube, because I'm obviously naming their group amongst other things. I'll find out soon enough after I publish this video. It says the group spearheads the street rallies and runs a YouTube channel with 450,000 subscribers. To its members, feminists equal man-haters. Well, I got to wonder if their channel is still up. I would be very surprised if their channel is still up, let alone monetized. Its motto once read, and emphasize once read, "To the day all feminists are exterminated." Yeah, I can see why that was once their old motto. That probably caused them some problems online. That goes on the being on extreme, and that could cause problems. The backlash against feminism in South Korea may seem bewildering. South Korea has the highest gender wage gap among the wealthy countries. Less than 1/5 of its national lawmakers are women. Women make up 5.2% of the board members on publicly listed businesses, compared with 28% in the United States. Well, that's because in some parts of the United States, I believe like California, where they make it law that no matter what, you got to have women on the board, or a certain percentage on the board, which I think is ridiculous. If in my opinion, if you got a very sharp gal who knows her stuff and is worthy of being on the board, by all means, come on in. However, if you're not having a guy on the board of directors for certain companies who's great and would be very qualified, and you can't have him because you need to obviously do the window dressing, so to speak, or it's the law, that's bullshit. And yet, most young men in the country argue that it is men, not women, in South Korea who feel threatened and marginalized. Among South Korean men in their 20s, nearly 79% said they were victims of serious gender discrimination, according to a poll in May. Well, I know over here, and all other parts of the world, the schools really cater to the young gals. Okay, the boys are being put aside, and they're all focusing on the girls. And I'm sure that's the case there, so that makes sense why the young people here, which they're mentioning right here, feel that way. Okay, and I don't know what their movies and TV shows are like, how they portray men and portray women, but we all know how the shows and movies portray guys over here. They portray guys as idiots and weak and inept, and they portray the women as strong and together and have it made and all these other things. They portray men in usually the feminine role and women in the masculine role. And again, that's another element of feminism, how things have gone way too out of whack in terms of they're trying to make the genders equal, make men more like women, women like men. And there's a wonder why things are so warped on so many ways in the dating realm, and why people are putting off marriage forever, not doing it at all, amongst many other things. And they wonder why the birth rates have been declining year after year after year. Where do you think all this comes from? And I can go on forever about these things. Those of you who watch me all the time know I've done plenty of other videos and I've gotten into details, but I don't feel like getting into it right now. I'm just focusing on this article from South Korea. It continues. This is from a woman. She says, there is a culture of misogyny in male-dominated online communities depicting the gal effinists as radical, misandrist, and spreading fear of effinists, says Kim Joo-hee, 26, a nurse who has organized protests denouncing anti-effinists. So we got the anti-effinist protests, and then we have the anti-effinist, if I can say that right, protest here. The wave of anti-effinism, and by the way, guys, if it isn't clear already, I got to watch what I say in terms of effinism, speaking in code here, to get this video done. The wave of anti-effinism in South Korea shares many of the incendiary taglines with right-wing populist movements in the West that peddle such messages. Women who argue for abortion rights are labeled destroyers of families. Effinists are not champions of gender equality, but female supremacists. Well, look. You got a lot that are that way. That are that what they describe as female supremacists. Okay, supremacists. My bad. And it is what it is. There are a lot of angry freaking gals around the world, and the stuff they say is just unbelievable. And unfortunately, they have very loud voices, and a lot of women will say, "Oh yeah, I'm a effeminist," or "I support that," everything like that. But then they don't realize exactly what it really is, and how far it's gone, how far the pendulum has swung in a different direction. In South Korea, women and effinists are two of the most common targets of online hate speech, according to the country's National Human Rights Commission. Well, again, what is the definition in their view of hate speech? Is it somebody just bringing awareness to an issue, and therefore they don't like what somebody says or disagrees about, and therefore it's labeled as hate speech, which happens a lot? Or is it genuine harassment and things like that? Because I'm not for harassment or being cruel or anything like that. I am for speaking the truth, spreading awareness, things like that. The backlash represents a split from previous generations. Older South Korean men acknowledge benefiting from a patriarchal culture that had marginalized the gals. Decades ago, when South Korea lacked everything from food to cash, sons were more likely to be enrolled in higher education. In some families, women were not allowed to eat from the same table as men, and newly born girls were named Malja, or last daughter. Sex preference abortions were common. As the country has grown richer, such practices have become a distant memory. Families now dote on their daughters, more women attend college than men, and they have more opportunities in the government elsewhere through a significant glass ceiling protest. It says here, men in their 20s are deeply unhappy, considering themselves victims of reverse discrimination, angry that they have to pay the price for gender discrimination created under the earlier generations. It says O.J. Ho, a researcher at the Gaia, I can't pronounce this to save my life, a such and such research institution in South Korea. If you guys want to follow the article, pause the video, click on the link, and you can and read it as I go through this, because I can't pronounce these Korean names to save my life. And yes, I read this before, and I tried. It goes on, if older men saw women as needing protection, younger men considered them competitors in a cutthroat job market. Anti-effinists often note that men are put at a disadvantage because they have to delay getting jobs to complete their mandatory military service. But many women drop out of their workforce after giving birth, and much of the domestic duties fall to them. What more do you want? We gave you our own space in the subway, bus, parking lot, the male rapper San E writes in his 2018 song, Effinist, which has a cult following among young anti-effinists. Or as in quotes, "Oh, girls don't need a prince. They pay half for the house when we marry." The gender wars have infused the South Korean presidential race, largely seen as a contest for young voters. With the virulent anti-effeminist voice surging, no major candidate is speaking out for women's rights. Once such a popular cause that President Moon Jae-in called himself effeminist when he campaigned about 5 years ago. Interesting that the noise is getting so loud. This is now involving presidential race. Here's another name that I can't pronounce. Yoon Suk-yeol, the candidate of the conservative opposition People Power Party, sided with the anti-effeminist movement when he accused the Ministry of Gender Equality of treating men like potential sex criminals. He promised harsher penalties for wrongfully accusing men of sex crimes, despite concerns it would discourage women from speaking out. That's another major issue. And it's seen across the board everywhere, the workplace, universities, all sorts of stuff where guys are accused. And believe me, there are some scumbag guys that have done some awful things, and they definitely deserve what was coming to them. Unfortunately, those assholes have ruined it for everybody else, and then guys get accused of literally, they say or do something that is anybody with a common sense can say is not a big deal, but some gal decides, you know what, I'm going to get back at all those jerks from all the previous years, and I'm going to accuse this guy of this, or make a mountain out of a molehill of this, and this guy's going to lose his job. And you know darn well, guys, in the workplace, you got to be so careful, because if you say anything, or even if just you, some cases, guys get in a room with a gal to have a meeting and nobody else is there, you've heard the articles and stories I've gone over, guys get accused. Okay, I'm not saying it happens every day, but, and by the way, a lot of this was really going down before March 2020 when COVID changed the world. You haven't heard a whole lot about these types of things for a couple of years because a lot of people are working from home now. But if and when things kind of go back to what they were normal, you may start to hear this again. But these guys are being accused of these things left to right. It's bullshit. This is why I tell guys in the workplace, keep your mouth shut. Do your freaking job. Do not talk with the gals. Don't flirt with the gals. Don't date the gals you work with, because it can blow up in your face. Think about that. You're dating a coworker and it doesn't work out well, and next thing you know, Human Resources is calling you in for a chat. There are some that would stoop to that level. Anyhow. But Mr. Yoon also recruited a prominent 31-year-old leader of a feminist group as a senior campaign advisor last month, a move intended to take care of worries that his party has alienated young female voters. So he's trying to have some balance there. By law, Mr. Moon cannot seek re-election. His Democratic Party's candidate, Lee Jae-myung, has also tried to appeal to young men, saying just as women should never be discriminated against because of their gender, nor should men suffer discrimination because they are men. I think that's a little too late at this point, but no, they should not be discriminated against. Mr. Lee sees the gender conflict largely as a problem of dwindling job opportunities, comparing young South Koreans to chicks struggling not to fall off a crowded nest. We must make the nest bigger by recovering growth, he has said. It isn't just that about the jobs. It is plenty of other things there too. Come on here. It is hard to tell how many young men support the kind of extremely provocative and often theatrical activism championed by groups like Man on Solidarity. Its firebrand leader, Mr. Bay, showed up at a recent feminist rally dressed as the Joker from Batman comics, touting a toy water gun. He followed female protesters around pretending, as he put it, kill flies. Not good, because now when these guys are being that extreme, they're just as bad as on the other side, with the Nazis being that extreme. Not good. Again, it's one thing to bring awareness to things and talk about, but when you start doing these theatrics, you can start to hurt your cause. I gotta tell you, I don't think this video they're gonna let this video up with some of the things I'm saying here. It goes on. Tens of thousands of fans have watched his stunts live stream online, sending in cash donations. During one online talk fest in August, Mr. Bay raised 9 million won, equivalent to $7,580 in 3 minutes. Well, this guy may be looking for his own stardom or to make his own money. Let's remember that. Women's rights advocates' fear is the rise of anti-feminism might stem or even roll back the hard-won progress South Korea has made in expanding women's rights. In recent decades, they fought to legalize abortion and start one of the most powerful M2 campaigns in Asia. Well, the problem is that, let's just say, actions are done to right some wrongs of the past, or let's, in the case with the gals, give them more rights. Nobody should feel fearful of certain things and be able to do certain things like men can do, but then there's a point when it's gone too far. And this is what you get. The pendulum has swung too far. The pendulum has swung too far in the West, and it's obviously swung too far in the East. Otherwise, these guys wouldn't be out doing this. Lee, oh God, more of these names. Lee Hyo Lin, 29, said that effeness has become such a dirty word that women who wear their hair short or carry a novel by an effenist writer risk being ostracized. When she was a member of K-pop group, she said that male colleagues routinely commented on her body, jeering that she gave up being a woman when she gained weight. Well, that's not cool, but you're going to get trolls no matter what you do. I get trolls all the time. I'm not crying about it. The M2 problem is part of being a woman in South Korea, she said. Now we want to speak out, but they want us to shut up. It's so frustrating. Well, the problem is because guys that didn't do anything were accused of different things one too many times, and that's why the guys are raising holy hell about this. So, and yeah, there are plenty of times, obviously, that some real scumbags did some awful shit to women in the workplace, and those fuckers should have been fired, and amongst other things, and they ruined it for the rest of the guys. But then these gals that went and accused all these guys who didn't do anything, and it happens all around the world, they ruined it for the gals trying to make things a little more fair. Whenever you have extreme anything, boom, the message goes right out the door. On the other side of the culture war are young men with a litany of grievances, concerns that they are endlessly regurgitated by male-dominated forums. They have fixated in particular on limited cases of false accusations as a way to give credence to a broader anti-effenist agenda. Yeah. Another name, Sun Sol Bin, a used furniture seller, was 29 when his former girlfriend accused him of rape and another bad thing in 2018. Online trolls called for his castration, he said. His mother found closed-circuit TV footage proving the accusations never took place. See? Right there. He says apparently the effeness and influence has left the system so biased against men that the police took a woman's testimony and a mere drop of her tears as enough evidence to land an innocent man in jail, said Mr. Son, who spent 8 months in jail before he was cleared. I think the country has gone crazy. See? Right there. That is exactly why men are raising holy hell. Perfect example. As Mr. Son fought back tears during a recent anti-effenist rally, other young men chanted, "Be strong, we are with you." So there you go, guys. Again, I don't know if this video is going to see the light of day on YouTube, given some of the things I had to say in there, because that's how sensitive it is, but we'll find out in 8:30 tonight Eastern Time. But anyhow, there you go. Another part of the world. I think it's very good. It's good to read articles and find things, find out what's going on around the world. Things not just our own backyard here of the US of A. I know I got guys following me all over the world, but the vast majority are guys here in the United States. But there you go in South Korea. Men are sick of it everywhere. Pendulum's gone too far. But I got to say this, but when you start being extreme, it kills your message. That's why you can't do a lot of these things some of these jokers do. And the gals, these extreme gals, look what they've done to their thing too. Big mess. But anyhow, guys, that'd be a good one to go over here. That is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And guys, if you come across a great article that you'd like me to cover, by all means, email it to me, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. And also, if you have a great story you'd like to share, something that happened in your personal life, things that you've overcome, I don't care if it was last week or 20 years ago, email it to me. Write out in great detail. I don't care if it's 10 pages long. If it's a great story and it's well written, I'll definitely cover it. However, understand, I get flooded with emails all the time from articles and personal stories. So give me time, I'll get to it. I mean, I've been covering stories that were sent to me 6 to 8 weeks ago. So I'm that far behind. But just bear with me. I'll get it to you eventually. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.